How you doing? Oliver Joyce from Whiskeybarrel Studios here, and it's another Swords and Sandals 6 developer update. I don't know how many weeks we're in now, 5 or 6, I think, but the game is progressing pretty quick, and faster than I could have imagined. Really, in a really positive way. I'm pleasantly surprised with how much is in there already, and by that I mean we have title screen. Credits page, publisher and developer screen at the beginning, and we have a working character creator, not completely finished, but mostly there and completely usable. We have every species in there now. Only art for the humans, but there will be art coming later on for the floralisks and the Sagan blobs and the automatons and all the different characters. There's a weight and height selector as well, so you can make them taller and shorter and heavier, and that sort of stretches them up and down, much like it did in Swords and Sandals 3. For the humans only, you'll see there is a when you move the weight thing along, they actually get big and muscly, and then if you sort of leave it there, they have regular size muscles. But I thought it would be cool to have that, because that was in Swords and Sandals 3 as well. There is no really skinny character yet, and I don't know if there will be, because it looks really odd with the armor, because the armor is sort of designed for the bulkier characters because they look the best. And so I don't know how that's going to work. But we'll see. We'll see if it can be done. And if that is the case, I'll leave it on the regular character. What else? Well, before I talk about the Battle Caravan, which is the main theme of today's chat, I want to talk a little bit about motivation. Our whole family has been sick for what feels like forever. For this last all of March, the boys have been sick with colds, and then my wife got it, and then I've got it, and it's just been non-stop. And then, Charlie isn't sleeping, so we're up at night all the time. And when you're tired, you don't realize it, but it really can sap your motivation. And I've gone into this project with huge positivity and excitement for it, but just in the last week or so, I've just felt so deflated. The struggle is real. I mean, there's no real struggle in game development compared to sort of being a coal miner or being a paramedic or any of those real jobs, but it can be mentally taxing doing game dev, just in terms of just the fatigue, especially when you're working by yourself, and it feels like, for me anyway, it was like, this game is big. This could take a long time, and sometimes you think you want to make this massive, perfect game, and you keep thinking of all these features, but you also think, can I even do this? And will it be worth it? Because I've made a couple of games in the past where I've tried to add all these extra things, and they just, the games didn't sell anyway. So there's always that doubt. Everyone, even though I've been making games for a long time, there is always a little bit of self-doubt in there, and that's probably not a bad thing, to have a little healthy self-doubt. Part of it is just being sick. I'm coughing the whole time and so on. Just being a bit under the weather makes everything feel a little gloomy and so on. But look, I still feel really good about this project in general. I'm excited. And the plan is there is a Steam demo festival in October. There's one in June, I think, as well. But I'm aiming for the one in October. And the plan for that is to get the game up and running in a playable format for the demo festival. And that's where all the big YouTubers and streamers and so on will be playing these games. And it leads to huge exposure and wish lists and all the rest. And so I think if we can aim for that, it gives me something to work towards. I've actually set up a much smaller milestone-based sort of review system with a really good friend of mine, a developer called Silas Rowe, where we basically, we'll be sharing builds of the game with each other. And I actually share the builds of the game with my publisher, Aram, and my artist, Alexander Terentev. And even now, my musician, Alex Tassani, who will all be playing versions of this game in the coming weeks. Every few weeks, I try to update the build, just so I can get their feedback, because they're also part of this. Alexander and Alex are the artist and the musician. They, their vision is, really on par with mine in terms of like what they bring to the game and their personality that they inject to it. Alexander's art is unlike any that I've had before. I've never had an artist this good, and I mentioned that in previous videos, and you'll see it. And this picture, this little thumbnail we have up here, that is deliberately blurred out, but it gives you a little taste of what the Battle Caravan could look like. And we're gonna come up with. I'll reveal all this sort of art and so on in the months to come. But right now you're not getting anything yet. But that's probably the closest you're getting to a spoiler right now. Is that's a scene from the Battle Caravan. But their input is hugely important, and Alex's music sets the scene. And he's done some fantastic 80s style, Karate Kid, Eye the Tiger, Man in Motion, all those kind of style songs for the game that really lend a vibe to this that Sword and Sandals has not had before. Exciting, pulsing, upbeat. It's this is the Sword and Sandals I feel like I always wanted to make, and it's coming together. Where I mentioned Silas Rowe, my game developer friend, he's another Aussie who I worked with for many years back at the old company, and we've had so many conversations about game dev, and he's my best friend basically, and he lives up in a city called Brisbane, so I don't get to see him nearly as often as I would like, but I'm going to be sending him a build of the game because he is not only my best friend and a great game developer, but he's also a harsh critic, and he'll kind of basically tell you, look, man, this is what's wrong with it, I didn't understand this doesn't work, and it can be so early in the process of building a game, it can be very, what I'm trying to say is there is no finished product to look at yet, and so you have to sort of basically just go, there's things missing, but he'll at least be able to tell me where the game is going and does he like it or not, what seems to be working. And it's important to get this feedback super early from other developers because that's when you can change things. And although this game is planned for early access, we'll really be able to, make tweaks and so on to the game. Getting this feedback from people I trust should hopefully make the game, a bit better for everyone. And although I'd like to share it with a wider audience like you guys, it's too early to get such feedback. There's no game there yet, really. There's, okay, on to the Battle Caravan. We've got the character creation system. We have a basic overland world map that you can scroll around. This is a more detailed version of the map from Crusader, and I'm going to be working on that in the coming weeks and months where, adding little castles and roads and so on and actual names on the map like Dracondir and Elderhath and all that sort of stuff. And that will be the way you move around in the game with your little Battle Caravan. Battle Caravan. And the Battle Caravan itself, people have asked a lot about, but basically this is a traveling shop system. That's what I've been working on the last week or so. It's about half built. We have all the actual, imagine a field and a bunch of caravans and tents and a little semicircle with training dummy and a little forge and a campfire in the middle. This is your traveling companions for the game. So you as a gladiator will start off fighting in arenas, in an arena with whatever weapon the arena master gives you. And then you win one or two fights and you're sort of ready to step out into the wider world. This is the plan anyway. And then you'll be contacted by someone. At the moment, the plan is that the weaponsmith will come up to you and say, hey, I've seen you fight. I'd like to travel with you. I think you will be successful. If you'll have me, I'll sell you weapons for a good discount, and hopefully you will attract other gladiators. Because in the plot for this game is that there are arenas all around Branda where fights are happening, and so it's good for these guys to ply their wares in the various arenas as traveling champions go along and say, oh, that's the weaponsmith who's associated with this arena champion, so on. From a technical perspective, this also saves me from doing a different shop system for every single arena. I don't want to have different arena shopkeeper portraits for, all 10, 15 towns or whatever that you'll visit. So there's at the moment, and this may change, there is a weaponsmith, there is an armorer, there is an enchanter, there is a tavern keeper, and there is a battle dummy and a campfire. And I may add extra traveling companions to that, but you'll start off with just the weaponsmith, and then a little bit down the road he'll introduce you to the armorer, and then the tavern keeper and the enchanter as the game goes along. And that will allow me to sort of dole out the the magic availability just a little bit later in the game, allow you to kind of you still have some magic spells and things to use, but I just want to sort of branch things out in a different way. When I finally do the multiplayer version of the game, which will be a separate entity to this, but all in the same package, and I'll talk about this package in a future video because it may not be called Sword and Sandals 6. Sword and Sandals 6 will be a component, but there may be a wider package. And I want to reveal that in a little while because it's a lot going on up here. That's why I'm a bit animated today. I'm sort of thinking about all these things at once. And we're already 10 minutes in of me rambling, and I've only just started talking about the Battle Caravan. Deep breath. So, Battle Caravan consists of these 5 shopkeepers. They'll travel with you. The time of day will change, rain effects and so on, and they'll gradually fill out the tents on your little Battle Caravan screen. And when you go to visit these shopkeepers, you go in there, and just like the old Sword and Sandals, shopkeeper pops up and a little text bubble. It's actually cool. They've got the typing text now in their text bubbles, so they actually look a little bit more like a JRPG. And they'll talk to you and say, hey, do you want to buy or sell? And at the moment, there is a grid-based item this system with a scroll bar. It's much more intuitive than you've seen in previous Swords and Sandals. I like it quite a lot. You click on it and it shows you a bigger image of the item with more details. I'm also planning to have an optional wide list version of each item. So you'll have the item name and the properties, so you can scroll down and you'll be able to select between them both. But that's going to come later. For now, I'm happy with the grid for now. We just have shops. You can buy things. By the end of today, I should be able to allow it so the player can buy and sell their armor. And I'm hoping by the end of the week to have a mostly working shop system. All the enchanting stuff and repairing items and socketing weapons and stuff like that will have to come a bit later. But at least for now, we'll have that in place. And that's a important component of the game, because as sort of dull and functional as it is, shops in the game are something you visit so often that you want them to at least be usable and playable. I have toyed with the idea of having the shopkeepers be, talkable, to be conversational, and I still want to put that in. It might just be sort of every town they have 1 or 2 lines that they say to you. The larger issue is the amount of text in this game is starting to grow and grow and grow, and because the game is planned to be translatable in many different languages, or as many as the game is popular, or start adding more and more languages, it just could be challenging to have all these different text things. And it's sort of limited me in a little way, in that in the previous Sword and Sandals games, it was just walls and walls and mountains of text. And I want to still have that to a degree, but I don't want it to run into the point where it's going to cost me thousands of dollars to translate it to one language or another. My good friend Michael Loda from Poland, who I mentioned in an earlier video, has taken up the mantle of doing a Polish translation, and he's an awesome gamer and World of Warcraft legend and so on. And he is an invaluable person to have on the team as well. I don't know about the other languages yet. We're going to release with English and probably Polish, and we'll see about that there. But it's certainly it's something that I am planning from the very beginning. I've got a Google spreadsheet that imports into the game with all of the text fields and all the button text, like load game, new game, inventory, all the item names and so on. Character names themselves will not be translated because there is thousands and thousands of them. So you could be playing the version in Polish and you might see English names like John and Peter, but you'll also say Finnish names and Japanese names. It would just be way too much work to try and translate all those names into your native tongue. I don't think it could be done either. And I don't think games do that anyway. That's the Battle Caravan for now. I'm pretty happy with where it's at, and I hope you like it. And I'll be iterating on it as the game continues. I want to get everything into a basic working state right now. I've got the character creator in a working state. I have the overland map in a basic working state. Barely. You still can't go anywhere on it, but you can scroll around the map. I've got the Battle Caravan screen and the shops working, although they have no inventory. But we'll finish that this week, and then next week I'll probably work some more on the overland map. Then we might get into actually getting some combat happening. That'll be kind of cool. The reason that happens last for me is because I've got to set up all these database systems and and all the systems behind the scenes before the combat can take place. If a character wants to walk and run, I need to know what their agility is and how do I get that stat and what other factors are affecting that. Are there, items have weights and so on, equipped items anyway, and that affects how high you can jump and how far you can run before you get tired and so on. So there's a lot more considerations. I've tried to build this game in a smarter way, if you will, and best of intentions. By the end of the game, it's always this bloated spaghetti code mess, but so far so good in the old Godot engine. And by that I mean smarter way. I've got weapons tables coming in via JSON, and I've got CSV files for the translated text. It's all done in such a way that I can actually check out all the weapons and armor in these spreadsheets and actually kind of do some formulas to work out their damage and that kind of thing. One last thing before we go on the Battle Caravan. There is going to be, at present, 3 different currency systems in the game. If you're buying the Steam version, that doesn't mean there's going to be all this in-app purchasing currency to buy. That will be the case for the mobile version because nobody, we've talked about this before, but the mobile landscape is a hellscape. And every game now has in-app purchases and currency and everything. And I've tried to avoid that for as long as I can, but if I want to make any money out of this from the mobile sector, I have to put some in-app purchases in the game. What they are, there'll be extra currencies to help you, buy better stuff. You'll still be able to, and it's not going to be one of those awful money-grabbing ones that slow you down completely. I still want this to be fair, but I also want to have some cosmetic items you can buy and just things to make the game a little easier. We'll work that out later. The mobile version is going to come later, but 3 different currencies: power orbs, star coins, and gold. Star coins will be the currency, the special currency that you earn from defeating arena champions and special things. That'll be the one that you basically buy in the mobile version, and you can convert that to power orbs or gold, but you can't convert the other 2 things to star coins. They're called star coins right now. That might change. Might be a bit lame. Who knows? But there is power orbs are what you use to level up your character with. And much like Dark Souls, they're basically souls from Dark Souls. So the first point you point into strength will cost you 100 power orbs. And then the second point you put into strength will cost you 110. Then 120, 130, and that kind of thing. And this is to stop the min-maxing of a character with 100 strength and 1 charisma, which can and probably will still happen, but it means you have to think a bit hard about sort of how you're spending your points. And you'll be able to earn power orbs when you level up and also through different mechanisms in the game, maybe even mini games. And the idea is perhaps you'll be able to convert star coins into power orbs. So it's going to be interesting. And I got to work out a lot about, especially with multiplayer. Multiplayer is a big scary thing, and I haven't even planned much of that right now. I know it's going to be part of the game, but we're going to get the game into early access before we look at multiplayer, and then we'll bring it along from there. There's a lot to think about. And I've been reading a lot of the comments on the Discord channel and everything, and the suggestions and so on. And I think they're awesome, but I also want to kind of temper expectation a little bit in terms of I'm a solo developer, and I want to have them all hack-proof and have these dynamic servers running and everything, but we'll just take it as it comes, that we're going to have to work this out. And if there's money coming in from the early access build of the game, then we'll be able to, invest in that. I will be able to invest in even getting someone that's, pretty good with networking and servers to maybe take on that role from me and make sure that's all working solid. The plan is to have, multiplayer as its own. You build a character for multiplayer, you build a character for solo. Topic for the future video is modular episodes in the thing. So Sword and Sandals 6 will be an episode. Sword and Sandals 3 remake could be an episode in this sort of, new Ultimate Swords and Sandals package type thing. And even a Sword and Sandals 2 Arena Champion thing. And so there will be separate modules and you create characters for those. Same with multiplayer, because it doesn't make sense for you to be able to sort of, and it'll be impossible to balance bringing a single player character over and vice versa. But yeah, these are my plans right now. And as you know from me, nothing is truly set in stone. Things change, scope changes. I want you to know that I read all your comments here and on Discord, and the suggestions have been fantastic. Many of them I'll put in, some of them I won't, but so far I'm really happy with where this game is coming on. Not everyone will love the art style. I think it's awesome. Some people will say, you should have done the super cartoony Sword and Sandals 2 art style. This feels more like Sword and Sandals 3 and a bit more darker and brooding. The shopkeeper art is out of this world. It's fantastic. I think, it's something else. Overall, this is I think it's a pretty cool game so far. It runs really well on mobile. It runs great on desktop so far. And yeah, we got a long way to go, but thanks for joining me for the ride, and I'll keep updating every week. I'm also going to be posting on Reddit summaries of these videos. As always, thank you, my friends, for being part of the YouTube subscriber group. You can subscribe here. Yeah, hit that. Hit the bell. All the rest. We're nearly at 5,000 subs. Awesome. It's taken me so long. I wish I'd gotten to YouTube ages ago, like in 2007 or something, when the game was popular and YouTube was just starting. Because, YouTube is not a meritocracy, and there are a lot of huge YouTubers that, you wonder why they're big, but they're huge and they have so much influence. And I'm just like you guys. I've got to kind of bow and scrape to them and like every game developer, try and get their attention, because they are the new kingmakers in the game dev world. Forget the traditional media. No one cares about Kotaku articles or IGN or so on. They don't even cover indie games most of the time. They only care about The Last of Us and, only if a game gets massive like Celeste or everything, then they'll start to cover it, or Hades. And by that time, the game doesn't even need coverage because it's already massive. So the YouTubers and the Let's Players are the ones who are the big influence. Anyway, that's about it from me. I'll talk to you again real soon, and have a fantastic week, and bye for now.